Okay, so hi.
Hey.
So again, thank you for taking the time to chat. I wanted to first, just know if you don't mind, I would love to just hear a little bit about how you got into becoming a health and lifestyle coach and the type of work that you do, and the type of clients that you work with. Just if you want to start off by a
Yeah,
little intro.
sure. So I was in finance after college, so like was doing nothing similar to this. And then I struggled with food in my body for about 10 years through high school and college and after college. And I worked with a health coach at the time who went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, or had gone there. And through my work with her, she kind of was like, I think you'd really enjoy doing this. And I was always really interested in nutrition, but I never really felt like I knew the path for me to go down within that field. And then I also was struggling so much with my own issues that I just didn't feel like I could actually, help people. But then I decided to enroll in IIN anyway. I did it on the side while I was working. And then, just kind of had that as like a background, but I still wasn't ready to start my own business. And then through my own healing around my relationship with food and my body, I just felt like more and more compelled to help other women because it was something that was such a deep struggle for me that I knew and was realizing so many other women were struggling with. And so I quit my job and started my business 5 years ago, and I've been working with women. It really started almost 100% around people who are struggling with food in their bodies. So typical women who work with me have been dieting for decades or many years and are just extremely in their heads around food, what to eat, how much to eat, when to eat, counting calories, dieting, restricting, binging. I was a big binge eater. That's a huge thing my clients are going through, a lot of them. And they really just want to break out of that. And so that's what I really help them to do. And I teach intuitive eating, which is, things around intuitive eating, which is basically not dieting, getting back to your body, listening to yourself, listening to your own internal cues around food and around hunger and fullness and cravings versus like everything that's out there telling us what to do. And I teach like really people being intuitive in every area of their lives. So with workouts, with dating, with their relationships, with navigating their careers, like I really help women get back to themselves and create a really solid relationship with themselves. So over time, like as I coach women around food in their bodies, I realized it's not really about food. It's about confidence, self-esteem, how they're treating themselves, how they're talking to themselves, how they're taking care of their emotions, how they're dealing with life on a day-to-day basis. So many, by looking at our relationship with food and our bodies, we can actually see so much about what's going on within ourselves on a deeper level. Mm-hmm. And in order to heal any of that, we need to heal the deeper stuff. And so I rebranded my business 2 years ago to be all about deep self-care, because that's really what I've found really helps people actually heal their relationship with food. Mm-hmm. And then for people who are not even struggling with food, so many of us, if not all of us, can work on our relationship with ourselves and the way we're taking care of all parts of ourselves. So that's really where I'm at now.
That's awesome. And I love that you mentioned that it all comes down to self-care first and foremost, and, really digging deep and seeing what's really going on other than food, because I'm sure at that point, everything else becomes more manageable, or not dieting, but, food, your relationship with food probably just becomes kind of not as much of a stressor.
Yeah, well, I think that the more women know how to deal with life as it comes every day, the more they know how to deal with their emotions on a daily basis, the more they know how to deal with feelings of inadequacy or insecurity or self-doubt, which are normal human feelings, the more they know how to handle these things, the less they turn to, I need to control my body. I need to be thinner. I need to have the right body, because what we're doing is we're actually using control over our bodies as a way to avoid feeling vulnerable in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We think that if we're thinner, then we won't feel insecure. If we're thinner, then we won't feel inadequate. And that's just false. Like, it's actually dealing with like our real feelings and real life things instead of choosing like manipulation of our bodies and therefore manipulation of food.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. How do you suggest, because I know you mentioned that when, women are in an environment, let's say if they're out at an event or a party and they're with their friends and, there's food everywhere and they really want to enjoy themselves and fully take in the experience. I'm sure you get this question a lot, but is it really a matter of just self-talk to have them, kind of stop and just enjoy what they're eating and not go too far? Or is it just, like you said, it's just a matter of, coming back to what's really going on a deeper level in the actual moment?
So, so I teach people like how to listen to their bodies, which basically means like, if you're hungry, eat. If you're full, this is going back to like what we did when we were children, like before we knew any different, right? We ate when we were hungry, stopped when we were full. And it's really getting back to those basic principles. So if you're at an event and you're hungry and you want to enjoy the food, go have what sounds good and what looks good and what feels good. And then when you're full and you still want to eat, notice why you're doing that. It's always for a reason. It's like you're uncomfortable, or you're looking for pleasure, or you're looking for comfort, or you're looking for a distraction from like an uncomfortable conversation, or, it also could be coming from the fact that you're in a diet mentality way of thinking. And so when we're in a restriction way of thinking about food, when we're at an event and there's all this amazing food, we tend to go overboard because it's like allowed. It's like all this like special food is there. Mm-hmm. But what happens is the more that we take food off a pedestal and we allow ourselves to have like fun, special food every day, then when we're at family holidays, birthday parties, events, and there's all this good food, it's not as special. And so we don't tend to go as overboard. So there's various reasons why people could be going overboard. It could be emotional. It could be a effect from being so caught in the diet mentality and a restrictive mindset. So it's kind of just looking at both of those things.
Gotcha. If you have a client or if there's somebody who really loves to plan, they're very, and if let's say if they hear about intuitive eating, they really like the concept of it, but they're, used to doing, let's say like a Weight Watchers and counting points and, exact calories and very specific and writing everything down. What are your thoughts on programs like that? Do you think they work if someone has a specific goal in mind of losing a specific number to get to on the scale?
So I don't have like blanket statements for like everybody, but I have seen, I've worked with thousands of women in the last 5 years, and I've seen so many women come to me after diets like that. Who are just like, I dieted, I looked great for this event, I lost the weight, I did this, and now I'm bigger than ever, and now I can't stop eating, and now I just fell off the wagon, and my idea about being controlled like that is that it just doesn't work long term. Mm-hmm. It can work for an event, it could work at a time in our lives, but for women who are looking for like long-term ease and sanity and health, I don't feel like a controlled restrictive diet works sustainably for most people.
Gotcha. When it comes to an actual healthy lifestyle, it's really about sustaining. It's also when it comes to self-love and self-care, like you mentioned before, and getting down to the core of what's really going on, do you find that it's tougher in a fast-paced city like New York, New Yorkers who are just kind of running around and sometimes with like a chicken with their heads cut off and they can't really say they can't find the time? What do you suggest for people who say they absolutely can't find the time to take care of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I just would have them look at like what are the consequences of not taking care of themselves? So like how are the other pieces of their lives suffering from not putting themselves first? Look at your relationships, career, your health. There's probably a lot of things that someone could see around like, you know, effects of really putting themselves last, because that will happen. Like we are not machines, and we have to be taking care of ourselves in order for our output to be the best that it can be. And so I would just, challenge them to look at like what's going on the outside as a result of that, and then what they think could be happening if they were to fill themselves up first, and what could happen from that. And I always have my clients do like experiments when they're trying something new. So instead of like radically changing your life and being like a self-care goddess, you know, just trying like one thing for 3 days and seeing what is the impact of that. How does it impact your marriage? How does it impact your career? How does it impact how you felt those 3 days? Like, how did you show up differently at work? So people need to sometimes see how much better things actually could be. Because we're so used to like, we're just like in a rut. We're so used to like, oh, life is just like this. I feel tired all the time. I'm fighting with my husband all the time. I feel like I have everyone always needs me all the time at work. It's like we're so used to feeling this way that we don't know any different. So I always have people do experiments with like making like one change and then looking for evidence around what good came from that. And that's what's going to keep people being like, oh, I want to take better care of myself and better and do more and more and more, because they're like, oh, life can actually be so much better and feel so much better and be like so much more amazing. So that's like when I'd say to someone is just to find like one little thing that you can experiment with that you've maybe been wanting to try out. Maybe it's something with the way you're taking care of your body. Maybe it's the way you're taking care of your mind. Maybe it's the way you're taking care of your emotions. And pick something small that you feel drawn to and create space for it, and then see what comes from it, because that feedback loop is going to be really important to kind of keep things going.
That's awesome. I love the idea of one thing at a time, even like you said, just for a few days, even writing down, taking note of, what happens, how you feel after. Absolutely. And do you think that for like a form of self-care can be like self-advocacy, like actually just standing up for yourself, or like
totally.
As one example, if somebody, is, let's say, a perfectionist and feels like you mentioned before, if somebody has to feel like they have to say yes to everything or please everybody, just a way of stepping back and saying no?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the kind of self-care that I teach is not like bubble baths and green juice. It's very deep self-care. It's about, taking care of like all the deeper parts of yourself, which includes knowing your value and your worth enough to be able to set boundaries for yourself so that you are able to be there for yourself first and do the things that matter to you first. And in this world today, we all need so much work on setting boundaries, I think. I'm working on it all the time. I mean, it is hard because there's just so much coming at you. And the more that you grow, and the more you grow in your career, and the more that you grow in your life and your social circle and all these things, it's like we have to know what we need most and what we want most and what's most important to us, and value ourselves enough to be able to defend those things. So that's a huge form of self-care, is knowing how to set boundaries, knowing how to say no, knowing how to say yes, knowing how to ask for what you want. Those are huge parts of it. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay. This is an interesting one. Have you ever heard of, like the blue zones, like the areas where people, they say they live the longest, like Italy is, like there's a part of Italy that is one of them. And it's all about that these groups of people just live in total moderation and balance in every aspect of their lives. Like they've prioritized family time, and, they don't deprive themselves of things like sugar or carbs, and everything is just, moderate, like exercising in moderation. Do you think that not only balance and moderation in life, like intuitive eating, keeps you healthy and stronger, do you think it actually does affect longevity of your life?
I mean, the one thing that comes to mind that I've seen so strongly demonstrated with my clients and with myself is that stress has, like, in so many ways, like, a negative impact on our health and longevity, I think. And what I see with the people I work with and what I see with my life, 7, 8 years ago when I was, like, really struggling with all of this, is how stressful it is to walk around every day feeling like I can't do that, and I can't do that, and I can't have that, and I really want that, but I can't have it, and I shouldn't have it, and I need to go to the gym, but I don't have, but I want to do this, but I'm forcing myself to do this. It's like, and like, just the stress of living that way. I just feel my health was in way worse shape back then. I mean, I have just felt and experienced such a shift in my health, the less stressed I was about everything. Mm-hmm. And I see it even now, like, if I'm stressed about this or that, or trying to control whatever it is in my life today, it's like my health takes a hit immediately. I think most of us, if we're paying attention, can probably feel that. So intuitively, I feel that the more relaxed we are in our lives, and the more, like, and I know a lot of science that proves this, that, like, what happened, the stress response in your body versus the not stress response in your body, I feel like that has to impact overall health and longevity. I don't know for sure. I'm not a scientist, but that is my gut feel on that. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
So I would just, like, say to people, like, I would have people look at, like, what behaviors and ideologies and beliefs and ways of being are causing you to be stressed, and, like, where can you remove some of that? And I've worked with so many people on, like, ways that they didn't think it could be different, and then it can be. Like, you can live differently. You can live in a more relaxed way and break down those walls of, like, this is how it needs to be, and, like, the control. And I'm not, perfect at it. I think, like, over time you, like, break it down more and more and more in all the different parts of your life. But I feel like it's just been amazing, like, the benefits of, like, feeling less uptight and stressed in life.
Yeah. Like you said, I think less anxiety, just you perform better at your work, whatever you're doing, you also feel better. I mean, anxiety also has physical effects. I think that's pretty much all that I had. So yeah, I mean,
good.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate again you taking the time. This was really helpful.
It's great to chat with you.
Yeah, you too.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on here. It was great to chat, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks again, and have a great day.
All right, bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.